What up? It's Sorta Gaming, man. We back in here with another video, and today I just wanted to bring to you guys kind of a video that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I just haven't really gotten around to doing it because it's kind of not necessarily a bigger video, but just something that kind of, in a sense, I guess, took more time to just kind of think out or whatever. And that's just, in my opinion, the worst things about fighting games. In terms of just like things that can completely ruin a fighting game, or things that are just not, good things in fighting games in general. So like you could have like a great fighting game, but if any of this or whatever is like has to deal with that fighting game, then it's kind of, it'll like bring it down, or it's like a bad part of the game. So this isn't anything like, oh, if this game has this and this or whatever, then the game is trash. And I'm not talking about like fighting games necessarily in particular, like particular games, like titles themselves, just things that kind of, I don't want to even say ruin the experience for fighting games, just things that just kind of aren't good, I guess, to have in them shits, man. But this is hella unprofessional, by the way. Like, this is just like, y'all just gonna have to, like, yeah. But anyway, just kind of the first thing that I wanted to get into that I think is not, like, pretty much just overall things that aren't good for fighting games. I think that's probably the best way I can put it. And the first one that I have here is uninteresting characters or gameplay. Because my thing with fighting games is that obviously gameplays won't appeal to everybody, so like a certain style of gameplay, where like 3D fighting games don't appeal to everybody, 2D fighting games don't appeal to everybody. So that's not necessarily what I mean by uninteresting, gameplay or characters, because obviously you might not like characters. Like, not everybody is going to be a fan of a character or a bunch of characters, or the characters in general in a fighting game. So what I mean is just like there's just no substance, like dive kick, my nigga. Like, I don't see how people like that. To me is just uninteresting gameplay. You know what I mean? And just where like the gameplay is just bare bones, nothing to it. There's nothing really interesting. There aren't any cool attacks or any specials or just anything. There's just no substance to the gameplay. Same thing with the characters. There's just nothing to the characters. There's, bland ass, characters that anybody could have whipped up in Microsoft Paint or whatever the case may be. And I think this obviously will hurt a fighting game a lot, because I think the most important thing in fighting games are the characters and the gameplay. If you have great gameplay and great characters in a fighting game, then your fighting game is pretty much a dub. If you don't have those two, it's a L. Y'all gotta hold that shit. You know what I mean? Second thing, and obviously a lot of these are going to be fairly obvious, or at least thought of by like most people, which, bad netcode is next on the list. If your shit don't play good online, it's hard for me to, like, it's hard for, I think, for most people to not knock a fighting game that has, terrible online. NetherRealm took shit for years because of their terrible netcode, and now it's like NetherRealm and how they kind of make their games now is pretty much kind of the blueprint for how fighting games should be made. Obviously, like I said, gameplay, you might not like their style of gameplay for their games, but in terms of presentation and like publishing, or advertising, and just how their games are set, like in schedule with post game releases and attention to the game and supporting the game post launch, and just everything, how they kind of worked on their fighting games in recent years, has been kind of what most fighting game developers should look at. And so bad netcode could definitely ruin the game. Which, because me personally, I'm not the biggest online player. I play Dragon Ball FighterZ a lot online and everything, but it's not the biggest component for me. So with me personally, if your game has a shitty netcode, it's not going to affect me as much. But I clearly see and understand that can completely ruin the fighting game for a lot of people. And so my third choice here, or my third pick for what can kind of in the fighting game or bad things about them is the lack of modes that can be in the fighting game. I'm not, calling out Street Fighter 5 individually. I know I probably when I said lack of modes, I probably flashed a quick picture of some SF5 shit on the screen just to troll and shit. But just in general, which just goes back to the bad netcode thing, to where I, might not be the biggest online player, or somebody might not be somebody that just hops online, and so they might just want to play with friends, or they just might want to run through like an arcade mode or a versus, like 1v1 versus the computer mode or whatever like that. And if that shit is not in the game, then it's like, what are y'all doing? Like if you have bad netcode on top of just no modes in general, is just a recipe for a disaster in a fighting game. Again, I'm not just singling out Street Fighter 5. I'm not. All right, let me stop, man, because people are real. They'll think I'm just trying to shit on Capcom, and when I'm really not. I'm just saying, like, that's ultimately the main reason Street Fighter 5 just did not start out well at all, because it was like there were no characters, no nothing. Netcode was bad. Like, Street Fighter 5 just had a terrible launch, but that doesn't make it a terrible game, so I'll never shit on the game, especially if it's a game that I haven't really played that much myself to really have an opinion on the game. So that's why, like, y'all will never hear me like just like actually seriously critique Street Fighter 5, because I just feel that's something that I can't really say at all, And so lack of modes goes into my next thing, which is just a bad tutorial or training, mode, or just the lack thereof, which I think is a big blow to Tekken, because Tekken 7, I honestly think I would have gotten into Tekken 7 way more, because if y'all don't know, Tekken 6 is one of my favorite games like ever, and so is, along with Tekken 3, Tekken 5, all of them I think are great games. But the fact that Tekken 7 does not have a tutorial mode to teach newcomers to the game how to actually play the game was just a really big blow to Tekken, especially with me, because it's been a minute since I really got into Tekken. Like Tekken 6, like I said, was the last Tekken that I really got into, and for that to not have a tutorial mode at all was just ridiculous, especially when you consider how technical that game is and how much there is to know and how much you have to really learn in the game. Obviously, still Tekken is still, button mash fighter 2.0 or whatever, but there's still complexities to the game and just general things that you should know and that should be presented in a tutorial mode. And for a fighting game to not have it, or not have a good one, is just really kind of crazy, because NetherRealm games as well do not have the most in-depth tutorial mode, but they definitely teach you enough to where once you learn that, to pretty much get better at the game from there, you can just easily look at other videos or footage from other players that are good, on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever, and you can easily pick up in a NetherRealm game that way. So like your tutorial mode does not have to be like Guilty Gear XR level of like explanation. It's like you don't have to have a PhD to create this tutorial mode and then have a PhD to fucking go through it and know how to play this game. It's just like have one and have people kind of come out of tutorial knowing a considerable amount more than what they did before. That goes like, and go into my next topic, I think this is number 5 or 6 or whatever, is just an uninspired or bland design, which also goes back into kind of uninteresting characters or gameplay. Just make your characters look cool, just make them seem interesting, make dope looking stages, like which Blaze Blue and Arc System games in general have done it for years, where they go all in with their characters and they look dope, you know what I mean? And that's all cool, and to where their backgrounds are nothing but paintings pretty much in the back, which if you make it look good, that's all you need. You know what I mean? You don't have to necessarily be going back to NetherRealm. You don't have to have these just fucking elaborate backgrounds that interact with the characters and all of this, or any like just over the top design aspects to your backgrounds and characters just make them interesting. You know, it's not hard to just make a character interesting and make the entire setting of a fighting game look cool. And I think if you just have blandness, you know, it's just not a good look, and it could for some people ruin the fighting game experience. Although if your gameplay is solid, then I don't think your design matters that much, because like with Injustice 2, when Injustice 2 dropped, it was like, oh my god, this game looks amazing. A month later, you don't even care about the graphics anymore. 2 weeks later, you know, you don't even care about the graphics anymore, you know. And so there's kind of that hand-in-hand thing there. And then the last one that I kind of just threw on was just having a bunch of like Shoto characters. Again, this is not a Street Fighter 5 thing or just a Street Fighter thing in general, a Capcom thing. This is just, don't have every single character play the same, you know, like that's pretty much it. Like Tekken 7, I think doesn't, or Tekken in general, I don't even think gets that like kind of critique as much as they should, you know, because most people just look at Street Fighter and say, oh, you have Ryu, Ken, Akuma, what's the bitch's name, Sakura, what is her oh my god, I'm drawing a blank, but her and Dan, and like, oh, you have all these people that all play the same, you know, everyone has a Hadouken and shit in the game, when Tekken has, you know, characters who are like Hwoarang and Beck are the same character pretty much. I mean, Hwoarang is the GOAT, but still, you know what I mean, they play the same. You have these two characters that play the exact same, and you know, Eddie and Christy and whoever else. Is just kind of originality in characters, I think, matters a lot in fighting games, and should be something that a lot of people kind of look at and focus on more. Like Arc System games do it great, where, you know, no character, specifically speaking, in like Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear, none of them really play the same at all. They're all very unique characters with very different properties. And that'll be it for this list today, man. Like, just this video, wanted to kind of do something to get you guys kind of interacting. You guys can let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed, if you feel some of the things I brought up aren't necessarily a problem in fighting games, and you guys can let me know that in the comments, man. We can just have a, you know, whole conversation about it, or whatever the case may be. This has been Oreo Gaming, man. New videos all week, every week. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I know this video is getting a bit long, but I'm sorry. Please just peep the video for me, man. Just let me know. Let's just have a conversation about it in the comments, man. I'm out.